What's up guys, Canada here. Today we're talking about noisy anything in your bike because most likely I've got the bearings in my bottom bracket noisy and those have to be replaced, but just for the sake of this topic I'm gonna show you some more things that can be noisy on our bike. So let's start with those maybe least important and those that we would not be thinking maybe about that often, and these are the quick releases. Not that long time ago I met a guy who has a carbon mountain bike, and he was pretty much sure that his press fit bottom bracket was super noisy under load. He just took it to the service because the bike was almost new, like hundreds of kilometers, couple of hundred kilometers ridden. And they took it off, you know, they just put some special paste or grease or so on and put it back together, and nothing changed, and everything was just the problem was solved when he simply opened the quick release, changed the tension of it and lock the wheel once more. So it can be quick release, especially on those carbon frames. Many things can be really noisy, so we have to be aware of that. It can be both rear and front, but rear under load while we are pedaling can be noisy in particular. So that could be one of the reasons. The second one, quite often this one would be the bolts mounting the handlebar and the stem. So if we like overdo it, if we use too much of the force, that will pretty much cause the noise of our stem while we are really pulling or pushing on the handlebars. So taking it off, cleaning it, greasing it and putting it back together may help. Sometimes it won't help and you will just know this is your stem that is noisy. Some stems are simply noisy, that's it. So we'll not always be able to solve the problem. I'm just, you know, telling it like it is, not just doing tutorial that if you do it you will solve it, because sometimes it's just like it is. Then of course all the parts that are assembled together, not welded but assembled together, mainly by using threads and bolts. We've got lots of those here. We've got the seat post clamp, we've got the mounting bolts for the saddle, and of course a whole system here for the saddle. Now, if you're sitting on the saddle, you can hear those noises. If you are riding off the saddle, when the noises stop, that's pretty much telling you that it's not the stem, not the seat post, not the clamp, not the saddle here. But sometimes when we are doing it on the rough roads, it can still be noisy when off the saddle. So take it out on some nice tarmac. When pushing on the pedals, you know, pulling your handlebars, like applying some force on the whole frame set except for the saddle and the seat post, then you can exclude that it's not this area here. Once more, taking those off, degreasing, cleaning, greasing once more. If the manufacturers it tells you that you should not be using any kind of grease for certain parts, then you don't do it. Some would tell you that you should not be greasing your seat post, and it's just clear on the manual, then you don't do it. Of course, if you have carbon seat post, you don't use grease, you use some special paste that can just come with your seat post, or you buy it just in the store. And now the most obvious one, the most common one is crankset and all that is connected to the crankset here. That's not only the bottom bracket bearings, it can be just anything what has any threads or bolts. It can be those bolts that are mounting the chainring, all the chain rings if you've got more of them. Those could be also bolts mounting the crank arm. Of course, the bolt is on the other side here because this is like a two-piece crankset. But if you've got like octalic system or square taper, that could be the bolt here and on the other side. So one of these or both. That could be the threads on your bottom bracket shell, and that could be your bottom bracket bearings. Of course, the bottom bracket bearings is the worst scenario because you have to replace it. Now, one thing, if it is the bottom bracket bearings. I've got the XDR here, and I'm pretty much sure these are the bearings. This would not mean that those won't just work well. So there is no play whatsoever on these. Those just work like this, and this is normal for a new Shimano bottom bracket. If it was even spinning for more than like, what, 2 rounds or 3, that could also indicate that the bearings are actually dry, and I have to replace those because we don't grease those cartridge closed bearings. So these bearings are okay, but this noise started here when I was doing some hard intervals with low cadence and a lot of force. So you can be doing thousands of kilometers sometimes when you're just spinning or going on high cadence, but if you go down to around 60 RPMs and you really push and pull the pedals, then the bottom bracket can start be quite noisy. Of course, press fit can be problematic, BB30 can be problematic. So far, no problem whatsoever on my Canada Cat 10 and Cat 8. I didn't have any problems with BB30. Maybe especially on those carbon frames it can be problematic sometimes, but I'm lucky enough not to have any problems with these. So I actually, before the last race, I took it off, I cleaned it, but I did not degrease it, and I put it back together, but I wasn't like super precise on this. So for the sake of this episode, instead of simply putting one of my many bottom brackets just waiting for the frame, I will just took it off once more, clean everything super precisely, so not a piece of dust, of dirt and sand here will stay here, and then I'm gonna put it back together and we'll see how it goes. So let's get to work with just stripping everything off the bottom bracket shell of my Canon. Here are all the parts that I've just taken off my BB shell, so the crankset and the complete bottom bracket. Now I'm gonna just strip off everything, like those mounting bolts. I'm gonna clean those, everything very well. All the bolts, even the small one here on the preload nut, I'm gonna also take it off, remove it and clean it and degrease it. What I'm having here is my beloved grease by Shimano. If you'll be asking me about the model, it's the WS8405. Okay. So this one, I like it very much for pretty much everything. This is 650 milliliters. This one by Finish Line is very good. This is the anti-seize, do we read it like that? Assembly loop. Fine for press fit, for anything and any kind of material, but disadvantage of using this one is if you put this one somewhere on the bolts on the crankset, it will be super difficult to clean it, especially on those matte paint on your bike, or even here, this anodized crankset. Here we have degreaser. Here I have water with some I just added like that much of the bike shampoo by Finish Line. I don't like this one for cleaning the bike. I don't see any advantage of using this shampoo, but for neutralizing the degreaser, it's okay. Here's the water, so let's just put it somewhere else, not to drink the degreaser. And I'm just now taking all apart and cleaning it. All those parts which have some rubber seals, or even this one, a plastic one, I'm degreasing it and then I'm putting it right away to the neutralizing liquid, and then I will just clean it, wipe it off with my clean rags. Those don't have to be new, but clean. So I've never been doing anything with those at my bike. Next phase just in a minute. guys, that's what I was talking about. This thread looks like it's clean, but it's not. There is no grease maybe, but there are some pieces of sand here, and this can really cause some problems. So I'm gonna make sure I'm really rinsing it very, very well and cleaning it fine. So when it dries up, I'll maybe be able to simply just dust it off with a clean and dry brush. We'll see, but I'm gonna really try to leave it as clean as possible at this phase. Now, if you wonder why did I put so much of this grease pretty much everywhere, the answer is I want to have rather too much than too little, and it doesn't really hurt me to have too much of this grease here. But the noise can come not only from the threads on the bolts, but from any area where the materials can have some micro movements, and then they can just create some noise, and that would be between the spider and the chainring, between the chainring and the inner bolt, and between the spider and the outer bolt. So I'm gonna just find out whether it will be fixed, and there is hope I won't have to replace my BB, because when I was unscrewing those bolts, one of these wasn't maybe loose, but it wasn't just assembled with as much force as the other ones. So there is a hope for me. And also when I was unbolting them, they were making pretty much similar noises to what's happening when I'm really putting a lot of power on those cranks. So there is a hope for myself. We'll see. And now when fixing those bolts back together, I'm gonna fix like 1, 2, 3, 4, because I want to keep balance of the pressure on the chainring and the spider, so that I'm gonna minimize the risk of any noises. The job is done. I'm happy with this one, because I'm now pretty much sure it was the noise coming from those bolts. One thing I didn't mention while I was assembling it, I did give up using this little shell. It doesn't play any structural role between the bearings. It only seals the bottom bracket from the inside of the frame. I don't think I really need it, so I wanted to be sure I'm giving up anything or just paying attention to anything that could cause the problem, so I did not put it back. What I'm gonna do, it's Wednesday today. I'm not gonna try it. I'm not gonna answer the question whether it was solved. It's been solved right now because we have to put some high wattage on this crankset. I'm gonna do it on Friday, and then Sunday we've got cross-country race on 30 kilometers. So pretty much on Sunday you will see, like Sunday evening or Monday afternoon, how did it really work out. What I'm gonna do before Friday ride, I'm going to reapply some force once more for those 4 bolts and the assembling bolt of the left crank arm, because especially because that one is titanium and it is kind of bit flexy, so I'm giving it time to, like, you know, adjust to this position now with this force, and then after that ride on Friday I'm gonna just check whether all the bolts are okay. But I'm pretty much sure now that this grease here will work out. As you can see, it's kind of messy. Everything on the bike around here is messy because of this finish line grease, but I didn't care. I don't want to solve this problem. Now guys, give me some comments below the video if you had any similar problems. How did you solve those, or if you have some questions about noisy bikes, let us know in the comment section as well. Thanks for your support and thumbs up, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.